I tell people when you do your work, it's a great thing. You're going to benefit from it, but you got to be ready because a lot comes with doing your work. When you do your work, remember, you are the person that you are at this moment. When you do your work, you're not going to be the same person.
Right.
So what comes with that is the people around you going to look different.
Yes.
They're not going to look the same because remember, you was walking with people like you're like-mindedness with, y'all were doing the same, whatever. So now I'm looking at people like, oh, y'all got problems.
Right.
Like I didn't realize it because see, I had put everybody on pedestals and made it seem like I was the worst, that everybody else had it going on, everybody was together, everybody had it going,
Yes.
But when I realized and took those glasses off, I was like, we all got problems.
Welcome to the Audacious Living Podcast, hosted by my man, Audley Stevenson, the Odd Man. He'll unpack wisdom and insights from a cross-section of top quality performers in business, media, sports, entertainment, and lifestyle to uncover key elements to help you live your best audacious life ever. So without further ado, here is the Odd Man.
Greetings and salutations, folks. It's Audley Stevenson, and we're back for another edition of hands down the most audacious podcast the internet has to offer. You've got it locked to the Audacious Living Podcast, and I really appreciate you for being here and taking some time out of your day as we continue our ongoing goal of helping our listeners live their best audacious lives ever. As always, I encourage you to follow us on our social media channels. We're on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. And if you're watching on YouTube, then all you gotta do is tap the bell down below and you instantly subscribe to our channel and you stay connected to all good things audacious related. Now, I've been a big fan of individuals who take life challenges. We all have them. We experience challenges and struggles, and they take those instances and turn them into victories. And not only do they do that, but then they also turn around and encourage and support others using their own life lessons. It's such a blessing when you can do that and aid others. And our guest today knows a little bit about that. Regina Smithwick joins me on this edition of the Audacious Living Podcast, and I'm excited to have her on because she shares a very powerful story of overcoming obstacles to get to the point where she is now. You see, Regina grew up as an adopted child, just days old. She was adopted and carried with her a lot of negative emotions around that. And they were suppressed, and these emotions followed her right into her adulthood, and she was completely unaware. She had no idea that these feelings and emotions were wreaking havoc in her life. And she wasn't able to figure it out until she one day did the work to get better, and she went on her own personal breakthrough. She's an author, a speaker, as well as an upcoming guest on the podcast. And like I said, it was a really powerful chat. Regina's got so much great energy. It was such a pleasure to have her on the program. So without any further ado, here's my conversation with Regina Smithwick. Enjoy. Hey, Regina, this is so awesome for you to come hang out with me here on the Audacious Living Podcast. Thank you for making the time like this.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for allowing me to be on your platform. I'm looking forward to this conversation.
Yeah, I am as well. As I was saying before, went live, you've got great energy and it resonates loud and clear. And this is coming from the guy that's told he's got lots of energy. I'm like, wow, energy.
So both of us got a lot of energy.
We're going to tire some people out at the end of this, I'm thinking.
That's okay. Long we wake some people up. That's all that matters, right?
And I love that, waking people up, right? And that's I think that's a great direction for us to kind of start into, because there are just a lot of people that aren't awoken or don't recognize even the power of themselves or what they have. And I know you've gone on a little bit of journey to get that realization and understand the importance of loving yourself and knowing who you are and owning your power and wearing your crown as a queen. So maybe as a starting point, if what we can get you just sort of explain a little bit about your work and how you got there and make people's lives better.
It's funny because you said the key, everybody, go through things, or they want to be happy, but you have to do your work. That's the part a lot of people, like, that little piece in the middle is always missing. You
Right.
always see the breakdown, you see the breakthrough, but you don't see the middle.
Right.
And that's doing your work. So a lot of times, I was that person you were talking about earlier. I was about to raise my hand, but okay, that's me. Because when you have to like get into that, and that's hard. Because that means you got to face yourself. That means you got to tell yourself that you have issues. You got to tell yourself you got to work this and do that.
Right.
That's hard. That's really, really hard to do. So my journey had started when I had a breakdown in 2019. So this is new for me. It's 3 years in.
That's not long ago.
No, 3
Wow.
years.
Wow.
Yeah, 3 years in. I was about to turn.
I almost
50.
don't believe you. Come on. 3 years ago? Come on.
3 years. Not even
awesome.
a full 3 years.
Good
Almost 3 years ago.
Good for you.
I went from I was always involved in things. I'm always volunteering. I'm in a sorority. I always been part of stuff. Don't get me wrong.
Right.
But I wasn't part of me.
Gotcha.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
I didn't have me taken care of. I took care of everything else.
Yes.
So when I decided to take the focus and put it on me, that's when everything kind of changed. So the breakdown came from me just not living in God's purpose. I wasn't living in why I was brought here to do. This is what I was here to bring. This is it right here. When you're in your purpose, you feel it. You feel that what you do every day, if you get paid or don't get paid, you're good with it.
Right.
That's your purpose, right?
Right.
So that's where I got to. So I went through that process. I went through a coach. I went through a life spiritual coach, and I worked through all my little issues I had, because like I was always telling people, when you suppress stuff down and you think that you're not, everything's cool, no. Anything like a soda, you shake it up, it's going to have to come out. It's going to come out some other way. It's not going to come in the way you suppressed it. It's going to come out different facets, right? So I had validation issues. I had low self-esteem. I had people pleasing issues. I was codependent. I had a lot of stuff happening.
Right. Wow.
But it was covered up by me always doing for others, me being loyal, me being that person you could count on. I was being who I should have been to myself.
Right.
And then sometimes you get to the wrong people, they take advantage and suck it out of you, right? Suck you dry. So that's where my journey started. And now I'm at the point that I'm a author, I'm a life coach, I am a podcast, I'm a talk show host.
Nice.
I have journals on Amazon right now, and I'm a professional organizer. All of that happened in 1 year time.
Wow. That's huge. And so first again, congratulations. And that's why I'm like, I can't. So when you say 2019, I'm like, wow. And also think during that time, we had this thing called a pandemic. And so to make those sorts of significant changes, not minor, small, significant changes already when our mental capacities were being challenged because of the pandemic. I give you a lot of credit for that, Regina. That's amazing.
Yeah, it was real challenging, because I'm an adopted child, and one of the reasons I was in where I was at, I didn't tell nobody. I kept it a secret because I didn't, people don't see adoption. Well, I won't say now. Now it's a little different, but when I was younger, it was not a good thing. People, would say, "Oh, your parents didn't love you. They threw you away. They gave you away to the, back in the day, they said the fire station, you drop off kids." They would just, and I suppressed it, and I ended up making this thing an ugly thing. I made it a monster, and I did it to myself, instead of standing in my truth. But I was a kid. But the problem lies, I took a kid decision, and I took it all the way to 50 years old.
Wow.
So I didn't change anything.
Right.
So that's what I mean by suppress. When I did that, it came out in all these different ways because I wasn't happy with myself. I didn't love myself fully, because if you lie about who you are, you don't love yourself.
Right. So then I've got to ask and need to know, like, what was the trigger to make the change, right? Because oftentimes there's a spark of some sort to sort of wake us up, and we talk about being awoke, right? To wake us up. What was it for you?
It's funny. You ready for it?
Let's go.
It was a man.
Okay. It's this kind of podcast now.
It was a man. And let me describe. Okay, let me explain what happened. So, God kind of worked with you, like they say, you got to hit people in their pocket, right?
Yeah.
That was my pocket.
Okay.
I was too busy trying to be accepted and to have this perfect relationship and get this perfect man. And he got to look like this. He got to be like this, because I didn't love myself enough to know I was good enough and I was enough. So I had to try to find someone to compliment me so I could make the world know I'm good.
Right.
Instead of not being good with me. So I got rejected. The guy was like, you know, you're a nice person, all, but I don't get this funny feeling I used to get when I'm with people I want to be with. And,
right.
and literally, I start Obamaing him. I was like campaigning, like, okay, how you don't like me?
Right.
Everyone likes me.
Right.
Because I worked hard on that trophy. I worked hard on everyone liking me because I didn't like myself. So I had to make sure I was covered with people who liked me because that fueled me. Because I didn't know how to fuel myself at the time. So when you tell me you didn't like me, I'm like, wait a minute, hold it. What do you mean you don't like me?
Right.
So I just tell him how great I was. And I had like stopped and I was on the phone with him. And I said, what am I doing? And it hit me right then. I dropped the phone. I just started crying because I could not believe I was doing this. Me, the one that everyone depends on, me, the one that everyone loves, me, the one that always have it together, is sitting here begging someone to like them. And that was it. I lost it. But God did that because he had to hit me in my pocket. He knew what was important to me.
Gotcha.
And when he did that, I heard him and I was able to receive now because he hit me somewhere that resonated.
Got you. Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So when did you make the connection to being an adopted child? Or did that come shortly after, or how did that connection made?
Yes. So after that happened, literally the next morning, I was on the phone with the life coach. I was like, look, I got to start with you like ASAP.
Right.
I got to figure this out. I got to figure out where's the connection at? Why am I doing this? Why am I not satisfied? Why I'm always seeking for stuff that people can't give you? That's the validation piece. Because you have to keep on getting somebody to validate you. It's draining for that person. Because you're not good enough for you. So you got to keep saying, I need you to keep telling me how good I am. You got to keep on. That drains anyone. Men, women, anyone. So when we was digging it up and she asked me a question and I was like, well, you know, I was adopted. And so she's like, wait a minute. You mean you was adopted? You never said this before, you know? And she's like, you just skimmed over like it was no big deal.
Right.
She said, that's the problem. You never sat in it. You just treated it like it was nothing.
Right.
That's the problem. And you did it for so many years so well. So now we got to take the Band-Aid off. It's going to hurt. We're going to rip it and we're going to dig because that's stemming your problem. And we got to figure out how that's connected. And that's what we end up doing. And when I started doing all that, she said, that's why you had that issue, because you feel abandoned. That's why you had that issue, because you feel that you less than. That's why you have that issue. That's why you validate. See, all of it has made sense.
Right. So you're fighting now to keep those things intact so you don't feel abandoned and alone and got it.
Running around chasing my tail, trying to have this life of everything's okay when it really isn't. And I built a life around it. So imagine when you finally pull the wool or pull the blanket or the sheet out and you drop. That's what happened with my breakdown, because I finally was like, I can't do this no more. Nobody could understand it because it seemed like to everyone else, it's like, what do you mean? Because some guy didn't like you. It's so much deeper than that.
Right.
That was just the symptom of my issue.
Got you.
That got my attention, that woke me up. But that wasn't the problem. That was a symptom.
Right. The other interesting thing that you talked about is when we suppress things, right? And we don't address, you don't sit in it, right? So you don't acknowledge it, you don't recognize what it's doing to you, you don't even see that it has impacted you in some way. And then what happens, Regina, it just becomes a way of life. It's just become, that's what my life is. And you move so accordingly from your childhood. And you were adopted at what age? When did you go? How old were you at that point?
I was 3 days old.
Wow. So that's all you've ever known, right? And you carry that your entire life and all the stigmas and the negativities and the judgments associated with it. And that's just, and that becomes your lens, right?
That's
and then of course, that's how, and it influences how you now interact with others. And you don't even know.
When I was writing my book, you said that was a good abstract right there. I can use that whole thing. That's it on a nutshell. That is it right there. It's like you chasing your tail. You chasing.
Yeah, and the whole idea of recognizing, I am enough, which is something that it's your platform, if you will, to so to speak, with, recognize the importance of that. What does the next step look like? So you've now found the symptom, you found the cause, you know exactly what it is, right? Mm-hmm. And the work. So you talked about that middle piece, right? The breakdown and the breakthrough. So you're now in that middle piece. What does that look like for you?
That was something.
Outside of a lot of tears, I'm imagining.
Yeah, it was a lot of tears at first. It was
okay.
Because that's was trying to learn how to accept that you are these things. I never had to say I'm codependent. I have so low self-esteem. I have this. I have that. I'm like, yo, like, come on, like I have all this, like, But when I got over that and got out of my way, see, I had to step out of my own ego in my own way. And when I did my work, the movie The Matrix, I always use this as an example. So, I saw The Matrix back in the day.
Yep.
So it is entertainment purposes, right? I didn't think nothing of it because I wasn't ready to receive.
Mm.
When I rewatched it after I did my work, oh my gosh, it looked like it was like I was just like, oh my gosh, like it made so much sense.
Yeah.
Because when you live in this world, like you said, you normalize it, right?
Yes.
So the Matrix is normalized the way they were living, but when he revealed that real world he was living in, he was like, "What in the world is this?" So it's. I tell people, when you do your work, it's a great thing. You're gonna benefit from it, but you gotta be ready because a lot comes with doing your work. When you do your work, remember, you are the person that you are at this moment. When you do your work, you're not going to be the same person.
Right.
So what comes with that is the people around you going to look different.
Yes.
They're not going to look the same because remember, you was walking with people like you're like-mindedness with, y'all were doing the same, whatever. So now I'm looking at people like, oh, y'all got problems.
Right.
Like, I didn't realize it because, see, I had put everybody on pedestals and made it seem like I was the worst, that everybody else had it going on. Everybody was together. Everybody had it going,
Yes.
But when I realized and took those glasses off, I was like, we all got problems, and it normalized everybody.
Yes.
Put everybody on that same playing field, and it changes a lot. So now you got to start looking at people like, where I'm going, I can't go with you. I can't take you.
Right.
I love you.
Right.
But I can't because, see, what happens is all that work I did is going to be basically self-sabotage if I stay with you because it'll be like shooting myself in the foot.
And those are hard conversations to have.
And that's why you do your work, because you have to learn how to say, I am more important than this relationship.
Yes.
I have to have peace. I can't rock with you no more because if I do, it's going to keep me where I'm at. And I don't want to be here no more. I gave this life up.
Right.
So on top of you doing the work and then, getting closer to God, that's a whole nother thing because, you got to learn that certain things are not, you just can't do everything.
Yes.
You can't. It's just it's part of the gig, man. It's a part of the way you just can't do everything.
Right.
So I'm still in this thing. I'm not perfect. Still in it.
Yep.
But I can recognize it now. And I could recognize stuff. See, that's the difference. Before, I didn't recognize it. Now, if I'm doing wrong, I could say, yeah, that's it. I'm doing that. I shouldn't be doing this. Because now I know.
Yes.
Now I know. So it's a difference.
Got you. Now, I love that. It's a great way of really summing it all up. Now I know. And the piece in that is the now, right in this exact moment. If it was happening yesterday, it's going on tomorrow, those are things out of your control. It's the now that we got to focus on. And so I love the fact that you consciously can identify that. I want to slide into the whole a discussion around loving ourselves and what that means and how significant that is to our overall growth and development. That's something you had to do some work as well too, right?
Yeah, when you say love yourself, the new catchphrase is now self-love. Everybody using that. Self-love. I'm gonna get me a pedicure today. I'm gonna get me a manicure today. I'm gonna get me a facial. I'm doing self-love today. Hashtag self-love. That's cute. That's cute. But see, what we do a lot is mask. We mask over what the real issues are. Like I tell people, you go out. Let's say you go to a club. If you still go out like that, you go to a club, you buying all this stuff. You buying all this designers, the nails, the hair, the jewelry. And it's funny because I did the same thing.
Sure.
You're telling yourself you're not good enough. You can't just go and be you Not saying you got to look like a bum. You still can look nice, but all that extra you throwing on, you can't be yourself. So when you take all this off, you're not even the same person. Like, who are you? Like, I don't even know who you are no more.
Right.
A lot of times we've been trained in this world that you're not enough and you have to buy all this stuff because everything's commercialization. Everything's commercialized in this world. Everything. So they got us programmed to say, you're not good enough. I need you to buy this Prada bag. I need you to buy this jewelry. I need you to buy these shoes. I need you to buy the red bottoms because you're not going to be nobody until you wear this. Right. And then people are going to recognize you. And then you have value. Now you have value because now you may be rich.
Right.
We got to get past that. It's good to look nice. It's good to have nice stuff. Don't get me wrong. I'm a car fanatic. I love cars. Like, I was like, I got to get this new this. And, everybody has something, right?
Yes.
That's fine. But if you can't live without it, like you can't take your weave out your head because some people can't. Some people have been wearing stuff for 20, 30 years. And I will give you, I have lashes. I got hooked on these things. And I'm telling you, if I take it off and look like I'm sick looking, I look sick.
I love it.
So, I'm being honest.
Yes.
And I get it because you're so used to looking a certain way. And then when you look like yourself, you like, oh, I don't like how I look. Yeah,
you still have to love the way you are. And I think the things you talked about, whether it be eyelashes, weave, I'm bald, so I can't really relate too much to the weave thing. But the point is, you it's okay to have those things and be a part of those things, but you can't live for those things because that's not real.
Right. Even with men, you can take it with men because, sneakerheads, or, you won't go to Walmart and buy a pair of sneakers because you already thinking, they're going to join me if I put these things on. If I go out of the house, people are going to laugh at me if I be walking around with Walmart sneakers on. You're concerned more of what people think about you than you like, let me just lace my pocket up and stop spending all this money on $200, $300 pair of sneakers. Let me be smart with this money and invest that. Take that money and put it into a mutual fund or put that money into a stock or put it in an iBond or whatever you want to do. We don't think past that. We think past what people think about us. And that holds us all back. We get in debt. We, friendships, everything that we live for is based on buying and having stuff because we can't be good enough just to be who we are.
Right.
And that's a problem. That's a real problem.
It is.
And so that's the stuff I was learning in my work.
Right. And so it's kind of go back to the whole, I got to love myself and who I am for what I am. And even doing some sort of self-exploration. And maybe because I think it's part of that process is almost getting to know who you are all over again. Right. Or at least the real you, because you may not even know because you've had this mask and facade on the entire time.
Yeah, I didn't know who I was. I knew who I thought I needed to be. I knew who I wanted to look like to other people, but I didn't really know. And I'm still learning. I'm still going through like certain situations with certain people. I'm like, no, I don't want to, I can't, and then people, it's hard because they don't accept, they got used to you.
Right.
And there's some people who use you as a benchmarker. And let me explain more about that. So I'm going out, let's say let's say I was the biggest person in the group and I'm using women because guys usually don't go through this. So I'm the biggest woman in the group, in my friends, right? So there's another one who's big, but she's not as big as me.
Okay.
So she always could say, all right, I need to lose some weight, but she's bigger than me. So we good because I'm not the biggest one here. She is. Even though we both got the same issues, we both need to do the same thing. But instead of her working on herself, she's like, I could get away with it. Let me coach because I can use you as a benchmark.
Right.
So I go ahead and lose 100 pounds. Now who are we looking at?
Right.
The mirror got turned and she had no choice. So what you're going to do with this? Either you're going to do right and do what you got to do to make yourself healthy, or you're going to turn it on me and say, girl, you think you all that now. You think you fly because you lost some weight. So what? That's what we do. Instead of us reflecting on ourselves and saying, okay, we will use people as benchmarks in our lives. Well, I don't have that much money, but I got more money than you. But that's not solving the problem. You still have issues. Nobody wants to focus on themselves. Everybody want to focus on everybody else.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, it makes total sense. And there's just great significance in turning that mirror around and looking at ourselves, because as much as we can compare to one another, we matter to ourselves more than anyone else, and we should. But that's
Mhm.
not always recognized. And again, looking at where people are, where they're at, their status, what they have, or their weight or whatever, that doesn't help you in any way, shape, or form. So why focus on it?
Because that's what we've been trained. That's the matrix. That's what we've been trained. We came out believing other people's belief systems.
Yes.
So we were born into parents. They only know what they know. So they teaches us their belief systems.
Right.
We go to school. They teach us their belief systems.
Mm-hmm,
we get friends. They tell us their belief systems from the parents that taught them their belief systems. Have anyone ever stopped and said, what do I really believe in?
Right.
What do I really like? Do I like this, but I'm scared to tell people I like it because they'll laugh? Am I scared to say I like this type of music because people are like, man, get out of here with that? We are so accustomed, like I said, to worry about what everybody else think about us.
Right.
And we never think about our belief systems as our own. Who really sits still and say, what do I believe in? Who does that?
Right.
You just continue to do what other people did, and then you teach your kids and you teach your kids. Nobody's questioning anything. And I was telling, I had used an example. So this grandmother cooked Thanksgiving dinner. She cooks chicken. So what she does is she cooks the chicken, she breaks off the legs, she puts the legs in the pan, she puts it in the oven. So she taught her daughter learned the same way. So she saw her mother do it over the years, so she started doing that.
Gotcha.
So now she has a daughter, and then her daughter decides to ask, Mommy, why you break the legs off the chicken? She said, oh, because that's what, Granny did that for years, whatever. So she decides to ask Granny what's going on. Right. Granny, why do you do that? She's like, baby, my stove is just too small. So I broke the legs off so they fit in the oven. 3 generations thought that was a tradition because they didn't ask.
Yeah, they don't question.
They didn't ask.
Yeah.
You have to ask questions. Don't just take things on because other people have other things going on with them. Your parents are your parents, but your parents are human first.
Sure.
They have insecurity issues too. They just happen to be your parents, but they have issues just like you do.
Yeah.
So sometimes you got to question stuff. Yeah.
The 2 words I think are perfect and fit nicely is how come, right? How come? Like, how did this get here? And not, it's not from a disrespectful or a challenge or anything like that. Just why do I believe what I believe, or why do I do the things I do, or how come? Where'd this come from? And I think when you because it could be a bunch of different reasons, but in the case, like story, it's just a smaller stove. So if I had a bigger stove, I need to do that. No. So then I don't need to do that anymore, right? And so it's a little bit of a house cleaning process. And I think it's an important one that we go through every so often.
Yeah, it's just questioning what you believe. I had to learn that because I didn't really know. I was going by with my mom and my dad. Don't get me wrong, our parents teach us some good stuff. Like there's some things you can take from anyone.
Yes.
I'm not saying, but you need to make it your own.
Yes.
You got to make it your own. You can't just do things just because other people did. Because remember, you're bouncing off of their insecurities, their foundation issues. Like if your parents didn't know how to swim because they scared to swim.
Yes.
They're like, I'm not teaching you how to swim because I don't know how to swim. So now you're going around not knowing how to swim because they're insecure because they scared about getting in the water. Like my mother, one thing she did do, my mother did not swim, but she made sure that I learned how to swim. Like she took the opposite, but some people don't. Some people was like, well, I don't know what to tell you. Right. I mean, because I'm not getting in that water.
Got it. Out of curiosity, as part of your healing process, when you came to terms with the adoption, at any point you'd have to go back, or because sometimes you need to confront people in our past or confront situations in our past. Did you have to did you ever know your natural parents? Did you have to go back and confront them, or was that part of the process for you at all?
Part of the process was when I got ready, I went ahead and found them. That was part of the process. I always wanted to. I tried several years before then, but I had got pregnant with my twins, and then things were different back then. In early 2000s, it cost thousands of dollars to find people back then. It wasn't like now. You go to Amazon, get a DNA kit, and then weeks later you get your. So that was part of my healing because I needed to find out where I came from. And that's something that I suppressed because I just, was like, oh, this is my family, and they still are, and I love them, and they accepted me 120,000%. Like never, I would not want to change anything, put it that way.
Right.
But I needed to find out where I came from. That's our given right, a birth given right to know where you came from.
Sure.
And I needed to know that. And I went ahead, did the test, the little DNA test, and
Mhm.
they on your app, your results are in. And I popped up with thousands of people I was related to. And I found people that was on my dad and my mom's side. I contacted my cousins.
Wow.
I looked like them.
Hmm.
And it was and that's another thing. When you're adopted, you're around people that don't look like you, don't have no
Right.
mannerisms, no traits.
Right.
And then when you finally find these people and you look at them, it's amazing. I would stare at them like, oh my gosh, we look alike. Oh my
Wow.
gosh, my dad, like we got the same hands and the same feet. You know,
Yeah.
it's just things that people take for granted, that when you
Yes.
really, after 50 years, you look at someone and he's looking at you and we look alike, it's amazing. It's just an
Yeah.
amazing feeling.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I found them, and one day, it took me one day to find them.
Good. Wow.
Yeah, and so it's been almost 2.5 years they've been in my life now.
Nice.
And it's great because I have all my sides. I have 4 sides. I have 2 sides that raised me, 2 sides that gave me
Amazing.
life.
Amazing. I love it. I love it.
Mhm.
You know, quickly, my own personal story. You know, my
Mhm.
parents split up when I was just a baby, so I grew up not knowing who my natural father was until
Mhm.
I became a father myself, and he one day sort of appeared in my life, and he just had this thing of I got to find my son. Now, what I didn't know in the moment was that he was sort of battling some ill health challenges, and he was sort of looking at his
Mhm.
own mortality, and was like,
Mhm.
so it was more like it wasn't just I want to find my son. It was like I want to find my son before I go, right?
Oh,
And
okay.
and we connected, and it took some time to, and you probably can relate to it, trying to figure things out, and you're going through that process, and like okay, he eventually passed away about 3 years later, as he was facing his own mortality. But in that time, it was like wow, like I was going through the same kind of thing, like this guy looks like me. Oh my gosh, I've got his mannerisms.
Mhm.
I'll never forget one day he and I were in a grocery store, and I was cashing out, and he was
Mhm.
kind of bagging the items at the end of the aisle, at the end of the conveyor belt there. And I was just kind of engaged in just random conversation with the cashier, and we
Mhm.
started laughing over something silly. I looked down at him, and he's got this stone cold look in his face, like, wow. I'm like, what's wrong? He goes, oh, you sound just like me. I've done the same thing. Like, and it was just, he was coming to that realization in terms of how I was engaging in the same way
Mhm.
he would. And so I can totally relate to that. And I think for me, at the end of that experience, I remember, I've said many times that
Mhm.
I've learned two incredible gifts from my father, right?
Mhm.
The gift of absence and the gift of presence. The
Mhm.
absence taught me how to be a better father. I wanted to be the father I wanted to be, because I knew what the other side looked like, not being there, not
Mhm.
being present.
Mhm.
And so I always knew I wanted to be present for my children. And so that was the absence piece. The
Mhm.
presence, I mixed it up. The absence was him not being there. The presence piece was it's never too late,
There
right?
you go.
Oftentimes we're in situations where we go, you know what? Too much time has passed. I'm not going to bother. It doesn't make sense. Just leave it alone and not bother. But you can you can make up. Well, you can't make up for the time, but you
Mhm.
can have new beginnings moving forward. And so for
Mhm.
me, I've got some wonderful fond memories of my father for our only 3-year window, but those memories will stay with me the rest of my life. So you can
Oh, wow.
always learn from both the absence and the presence. And so when I hear you talk about your experiences, I can relate very muchly, because when you have that piece of like, there's a piece of me out there, but I don't know really what it is, right?
Mhm.
I think the
Yep.
difference for me, it didn't necessarily impact my life in an adverse or negative way, because I was surrounded by lots of love. And so I was like, okay, that's cool.
Mhm.
I got my mom that loves me, and we're good, and we got family. But yeah,
Mhm.
no, absolutely. I think that's a great story there.
That was beautiful. And that's, you know what? I'm glad that you understand that, because it's hard to ascribe that to some people who have both parents. It's kind
Right.
of hard to let them like get into that world, because you just get it, you automatically have it. And for you to like understand, because I had a situation, I was watching TV with my dad,
Uh-huh.
and we had our feet up on the chase and we were watching a movie, and I
Right.
just like was looking like,
Yep.
he was like, what's wrong?
Yep.
I was like,
Yep.
we got the same tone.
Yep.
We got the
Yep.
same.
Yep. 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 Yep.
And to
Yep.
me, it was a big thing, because it's
Yep.
like, oh
Yep.
my gosh, after 50 years, I'm like, I was wondering where I got these pillow toes from, and you have my toe. I have
Well,
your fingers. And we
so
had the same, like our finger is, I don't know if you notice it. It's like kind of
yes.
like looking like it's broke. And I
Right.
asked my mother growing up, like, Mommy, did I break my finger? You just didn't take me to the hospital or something? And it's just kind of, and I looked, I was blessed with a grandfather again. My granddad, he passed away though. He was alive a year and a half after I
Yep.
found him.
Yep.
Do you know him? My father and me got the same finger.
Wow.
Because I was looking at my grandfather. I said, Granddad, you got the same finger. We all got the same finger.
Funny. That's funny. No, it's funny. The interesting thing is I was named after my father. So Audley was my father's name. So I carried this man's name. I had no idea what he looked like. So that was a really neat thing. The other thing that was really funny, I'll never forget, when he came to the house. So I'm a tall guy. I'm like 6'1", and when he came to the door, I remember kind of looking out the window because he rang the bell. I remember looking out the window going, trying to get a good look at him before I opened the door. I said, let me just throw him. And I opened the door and I remember looking down. I'm like, who's this short guy?
Who are you, my dad?
Yeah, my father. Come on, anyhow. But it is an important journey, that important of self-discovery that you went through, and I love the part that on the other side of that is where you can find all sorts of glorious, wonderful, great things. And what I really love, Regina, is how you've taken that and the manner in which you're now impacting other people. And to me, that just speaks to the importance of why our stories are made to be shared. Right?
Yes, they are.
Our experiences that we go through are important, but we shouldn't just keep them for ourselves. We need to spread them out to others and impact others in really positive ways.
Yes, I totally agree. You think that you don't matter. You think that, what's going on in your life doesn't matter, but we are meant to share, because this story, even this, what we're doing right now, somebody gonna listen to it and be like, oh my gosh, that's what I've been through. That's what I feel like. Okay, now I know some steps to take to do this, that, and other. Like, we don't know unless we know. So that's why podcasts are so, they're so important. That's why everybody, this podcast, because everyone has a voice and everybody can speak, and it's never enough podcasts because everyone is different.
Yes.
Everyone is different.
Yes.
There's certain things you're going to relate to, certain things you're going to attach to and vibe to. And that's why it's great that like you and myself and others have these platforms that people can really resonate with and be like, oh, I get it. Because, sometimes somebody can say something to you and you can get 4 people tell you the same exact thing. But that one person tells you that, you go,
yes.
Oh, I get you now. We all said the same thing. But it's the way that person did it. They did it in a way that person was able to resonate and to receive.
Yeah. No, it's so true. And it's for that reason why I love the podcasting platform and what it allows and the ability to share. And again, my lessons and my experiences, they're valuable to me, absolutely. But I think they have greater worth when I can share them with others. And that's just, something I truly believe in. And if someone else can shorten their learning curve or enhance the quality of their life just based on this one thing I did, maybe it was from my own mess up that they can use to be better, man, that's some really powerful rocket fuel. That's for sure.
To be in this platform, you have to be transparent.
Yeah.
You have to be transparent and you have to be ready to share your life. You can't expect others to do and you don't do. And, even on my show and even talking to you, like I can tell you, look, I messed up.
Yeah.
I'm okay now because I'm good with this. See, but that's doing your work.
Yes.
See, when you don't do your work, you too busy trying to cover up and try to seem like you perfect and everything. You don't want nobody to see your and I never say failure. I don't like that word. I think failure should be used in another terminology.
I think we should get rid of the word altogether.
Failure to me means you didn't do nothing.
Right.
That's failure to me. Right. Doing nothing about nothing. When you try things and you have to kind of pivot and kind of take it and shift it and go another way with it, that's just you learning and doing your journey. Sure. That's all that is.
Sure.
But when you sit there scared to do anything because you're scared you're gonna mess up, you're scared, that's failure.
That's it.
I don't see failure as trying.
It's funny. It reminds me of I'm being a basketball guy. It reminds me of a quote I heard Michael Jordan once say: "I've never lost a basketball game. I just ran out of time." Right, and I just you just
mindset. It's all in the mindset.
Right? I know I'm going to win. I know I'm going to be successful if I have enough time. And it's a great mindset to have. So I think it's a real nice segue to your platform and your podcast, and you encourage talking at Let's Talk and sort of talk about what happens there and how you make a difference to others, Regina.
Well, Let's Talk 1943 is my show, my podcast. And what I always say is we're here to motivate, uplift, and empower our audience. I always say we're here to give you a lot of information, and you take what you need and you leave the rest. We're not here to say you better do it this way, or no. We open up like eyes and just give you different topics. We just do so many different things. And we on the show, I'm like I didn't even know I was codependent till I had a show recently, and the lady was like, "Oh, these are the signs of codependency," and I was just like, "That's me,
Whoa.
that's me, that's me, that's me." I said, "Lady, get off my show." I said, "Get off my show. I can't with you." Well, I thought I was doing better. Now I had to add another thing on my list. Are you serious right now?
I love it.
That's good because see, that's when you learning. Because I never really knew what codependency. I always heard the word, but I never really knew the details of it. So when I heard the detail, I was like, "Oh, that's me." All right. But those are the things that we talk about on my show. We get into it, and we open. We talk about relationships. We talk about this benefiting yourself, or learn how to be the best you could possibly be. And then we talk about insurance. We talk about life insurance and health insurance. We talk about investments. We talk about retirement. We talk about all these things that is in this realm of 30 to maybe 70-year-old in that. And we just put it out there. We give you a bunch and I always have experts or people in the field or people that, specialize in these topics. So you always can reach out to them later and talk to them about it or, render their services. Like we just here just to give information.
Gotcha. Well, I'm glad that you do that. I'm glad that you share in the manner in which you do. I think it's critical. Again, I'm big on sharing, right, Regina? I'm big on sharing, so I'm always gonna love that, and so that's a big part of what I believe is important. I want to still go back. We sort of talked about that process, and I think the last piece, and maybe you can correct me if you think there's another one that I'm missing. But I think the last piece in all that we do, you've done that exploration stage. You ripped off that Band-Aid. If you had to go back and address past issues, you've done that. And I think that the sort of and I have this image of kind of you standing on the top of the mountain with this flag, right, and standing in your truth. Right. And from that standpoint, you're sort of living your life forward. I want to sort of talk about and maybe describe when you say standing in your truth, what that means and how people can understand that better.
Standing in your truth is loving yourself, good, bad, and ugly. Standing in your truth is knowing that you ain't perfect, but you striving to be the best person you can. And you're not worried about what other people think about you. That's standing in your truth. Like I said, I can stand in my truth and tell you all the things that I'm working on that I'm going to improve. But I am still in my journey. A lot of people can't do that. They can't tell you who they are because they can't stand in the truth of who they are because that's your truth. My truth is not your truth and vice versa. My truth is I had these issues. I'm an adopted child. I'm working through them. I'm going to be a better person. That's my truth. And I stand on it because I'm telling you it. So if you can't tell someone that honesty, you can't be transparent enough to say, you know what? I'm kind of a liar. I don't tell the truth all the time because liars, why are you lying? Because I got to make my life bigger than what it really is. I'm lying because I don't want you to know that I have insecurities. I'm lying. See, that's standing your truth.
Right.
You stand on what's going on and you like, I'm working on it though. That's being truthful to yourself.
I love it.
And most people can't do it because they worry that other people are going to say or think less of them. And if that's the case, they don't need to be in your life anyway.
Right.
No. And a lot of the people in your life that you have not supposed to be in it anyway.
Got you. Yeah, no, makes sense. That makes sense. No, and listen, there's nothing wrong with doing house cleaning every so often, right? There's nothing wrong with that.
You got to do your spiritual cleaning, you got to do your physical cleaning, and I'm a professional organizer. And I tell people, your house shows you who you are. It shows you who you are. It's just things, but it shows you where you at in life.
Yes.
If you live in it and if you're a hoarder, why? You holding on to stuff for a reason. What is it? Right. A lot of times it's either death or it's relationships or it's some type of loss or you're just not happy with yourself and you just say, I give up.
Right.
And that's what you do. You hoard.
Right. Right. That's I mean, why everything you say resonates so strong with me, because so on this platform we talk a lot about living that bold, audacious life, and how you do that. And I think all the steps that you've described, ultimately leading with you staying in your truth, that's a starting point to leading that bold, audacious life that we're all meant to. Because if and I've always said this, I truly believe that if I'm doing and living the life I'm meant to, I can impact others in profound ways. And just imagine if we all were doing that, how great this would be. So I have to acknowledge.
You want to do it, and you want somebody to do it for you.
Right.
You want somebody to impact you. It's not all about you giving to, we supposed to give and take with each other. So
Yes.
I need people to be like, I'm like, oh my gosh, I just learned something. Like, oh my gosh, like you have to be open to learn, but we talked about this earlier. Your mindset is the most powerful thing in the world. Like you change your mindset, so many things can happen to you. So many beautiful things can happen in your life. If you just start looking negative about everything and shut it up. It's like, okay, stop thinking that way. Because thoughts turn into things, right? Thoughts turn into things.
Yes.
Everything you think is at the end, gonna come out as a result. Literally every single thing you think about.
Yes. Amazing. Regina, this is so awesome. I'm glad that we had the opportunity to sit down and chat like this and share. Thank you for sharing, your story and your insights and your thoughts. For our listeners who want to know more about you or check out the Let's Talk podcast, where can we send them?
Oh, well, Let's Talk 1943 across everything. So Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Pinterest, my YouTube channel, and my website is www.letstalk1943.com. So everything's across the board the same.
Nice.
And I love your show, and I love the title of your show. It's amazing. I love it.
Oh, thank you very much. Thank you. The one last thing I wanted to touch on, I was very, very impressed that you did this, is when we first connected, you gave me an acronym for your name, Regina, right?
Yes.
Royal, educated, gorgeous, innovative, nice, and amazing. Amazing. So on the spirit of inspiration, you kind of did something for me. So I thought, okay, what would mine be? Right. So audacious, unparalleled, distinguished, laid back, easygoing, and youthful. There we go.
Yeah. I love it. That is amazing. Now you got to say it all the time now. Now you put it out here on this show. You got to say it on the regular.
I'm going to put it out there. I absolutely will. I will. So I thank you. So I have to thank you for inspiring me to do that. It was actually a really fun exercise to go through. And I think we all should.
Yes, we all should.
Very cool. Thank you again, Regina. It's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Back we are here on the podcast, and I first and foremost got to send a real big thanks and appreciation to Regina for being here and sharing your powerful story of breakdown to breakthrough. She made a really strong point with respect to the work that we don't oftentimes see in between that. We see the breakdown, and we don't often see the work, then we see the breakthrough. But the work does exist, and holding in our issues is detrimental to our overall well-being, and we do have to release them. So again, Regina, thank you for being here, and continued blessings on your journey. When I think back to the conversation I had with Regina, she left us with a lot of great points. And if there's just one thing that I would take from my chat with her, it would be this. Every single person will naturally go through a wide range of emotions as part of the human experience. Whether it's anger, sadness, joy, or shame, they're all common feelings that play an important role in our daily lives. Now, the thing that oftentimes many people do in response to the negative emotions is act like they don't exist, ignore or suppress them, almost again like they're not even there. And the thing to understand is not only does suppressing our emotions, whether it's the negative ones, the anger and sadness or grief or frustration, suppressing those emotions can lead to physical stress in our body, but they also can influence how we think, act, or even view the world. Learning how to deal with these strong emotions can be challenging. However, suppressing them isn't the answer and will only make things worse down the road, as those emotions will eventually and one day have to explode. Hey, listen, if you haven't registered for email notifications of the podcast, you can do so simply by heading over to bestaudaciouslife.com and enter in your email address, and you'll be alerted every time there's brand new content that comes out. We've sadly reached the end of another episode of the podcast, and I first off want to thank our amazing listeners and all those lovers of Audacious. Your tremendous and ongoing support is so much appreciated, and I say thank you, thank you, thank you. Until next time, stay safe, be kind, show love to one another, and be audacious.
You've been listening to the Audacious Living Podcast, hosted by Audley Stevenson. If you enjoyed what you heard, be sure to like, subscribe, and share. Until next time, be audacious.